Beautiful. Okay, so good afternoon, everybody. My name is Nia Kiraton. I am the one behind Mental Block. This platform is for athletes to come on and tell their story about mental health and just kind of bring awareness to mental health issues in the athletic community. So with me today, I do have Jaren Rainey. So Jaren, thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Okay, so how about you just go ahead and introduce yourself and yeah.
I'm Jaren Rainey. Played football at East Carolina University for 2 years. Played football at Hampton University for 2 years, and I'm going into my third senior year now, getting ready to get things going. But glad to be here.
Awesome. So thank you for being here. Thank you for getting ready to be a little bit vulnerable with the people. So how long have you been an athlete? Can you give us a rundown of your athletic background?
I think my dad got me into tackle football at 6 or 7.
Mm-hmm.
I played at Oakview for the Oakview Cowboys. I know a lot of people who watch this play with me, but yeah. So played at Oakview Cowboys. Also played a whole bunch of baseball, travel baseball. So as young as I can remember, it was about 6 or 7 up until now. And then going from Oakview, I went to Ragsdale Y and played football there. Still playing travel baseball around those times, and then ended up going to Southwest Middle School. Played football there for a little bit, and then went to Ferndale Middle School for my 8th grade year, and then still playing baseball throughout. I actually played baseball longer than I played football for the most part, but football was where the money was at, so stuck to that for college wise. Went to Southwest High School and played football there, and that's when things got serious for me for the most part with going to play Division I football and getting recruited, getting scouted, and figuring out what I wanted to do moving forward in life. And so that's really the rundown of it, just from the youngest I can remember till high school. Besides playing college football at East Carolina and then at Hampton as well.
Okay. It seems like your identity almost is wrapped up in football. Like that's really like all you know. Does that impact you at all?
For that was probably one of the biggest impacts that I realized getting to college,
Mm-hmm.
because in high school, I don't know if I know it's not just me, but in high school you just think you got it all figured out, and that's how it was for me. That was everything. My motivation was football, 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 and getting to college, you kind of realize that there are other things in life outside of football. So once I started to realize that, I had wished I would have been open to a lot more things than I was coming up. Um, I wish that I would have went out and explored more, because you may go to college and realize maybe I don't like this as much as I thought I did, or this is not what I want to do in life, or I like this more than I like that. But when you're so dialed in, thinking you know everything, so dialed in, thinking this is ultimately for me, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life, and you're 16, 17, 18 years old, you kind of go back and wish that you would have been more open-minded to things that may have been lame at that time, or not as fun at that time, or not interesting to you. But I definitely started to realize that there's a lot to do out there, and football is not the only thing. So it definitely did have a big impact on how I look back on things. But at the same time, football is a great game. Football is a great pathway to success, not only on the field but off the field, getting to know so many people and building so many relationships. And that's a big thing, as well as just making as many relationships as you can coming up and building as many positive relationships as you can. But definitely had a big impact on me, just being my identity being football growing up, definitely a big impact, negative and positive.
Yeah, no, that can definitely be tough. I think that athletes in general, like when you transition, there is like no playbook or coach telling you what's next, so it's
Mhm.
kind of hard to adjust. But with that being said, it seems like it did impact your mental health a little bit. So, what or how would you define mental health?
I would define mental health as your own happiness or unhappiness. There are so many different types of people in this world that one's own definition of mental health can be so many different things because I mean, mental health can be, yes, it can be a very harsh, bad thing, but it can also be the most beautiful thing in the world. And it's definitely how you make it as a person, what your what your boundaries are as a person, have a big impact on your mental health. And being able to recognize what is good for you and what is bad for you is a that itself is a very difficult thing. But once you realize how important it is to who you are as a person and your happiness as a person, um, it'll really help out a bunch. And a lot of people don't understand that mental illnesses aren't something that a lot of people can help. Like there are 100% people on this earth who have their own type of depression or anxiety or eating disorder that they get to a point where they convince themselves that they do have that, whether it's their true chemical imbalance or not. But there are people on this earth who cannot help their depression, who can't help their anxiety and things of that nature because it's physically a chemical imbalance. They can't help it. That's where there's medicine and things for it. But there are some people who have issues and they don't kind of have a grip or a guidance on how to get it in order. So finding the things that make you happy as a person, finding the people that fill your heart as a person, finding the different habits that make you happy as a person is so important because on a daily basis, you have to make a choice. And that choice is to be better or to be worse. And I don't believe in staying the same. I don't believe in staying in one position. I feel like you're either getting better or you're getting worse. You're learning or you're not. You're growing or you're not. Like there's no in between. And so you have to be a conscious creator of your own reality literally on a daily basis. It's like people who play professional sports to this day, they don't not do something to better themselves with their craft on a daily basis. And something that has to be a craft of yours is your mental health because you have to live with it for the rest of your life. It ain't going nowhere. Sports will end one day for everybody. I don't care who you are. Sports ends one day, but your mental health is going to be there for the rest of your life. So I hate I didn't start younger on things that made me happy and things that I could fall back on to know this will bring my spirits up or this will calm me down or this will put me in my happy place because everybody's gonna go through something. And that's what a lot of people also think, oh, it can never be me. I can never be depressed. I can never do this. I can never do that. And that was me. That was me in high school, middle school, high school. I was the happiest kid you'll ever see. But there are things that come about once you start to grow and start to realize that life is life. Life is hard. Life is difficult. Life is going to punch you in the gut. And you have to be able to take that punch and continue to move forward. It's not an easy thing to do, but once you have those places in life, those people in your life, those activities in your life that can keep you sane, keep you going, you really start to understand that mental health is a real thing, and it's very important. And I think everybody has to make sure that themselves are taking the time out of every day to make sure it's something that they're taking care of.
Yeah. No, that was a very good answer to the question. Very detailed, very thought out. So, with that, because you have been through these things and because you kind of have worked through, like, your mental health issues and what you've been through, you've started a podcast and you started a business. But we're going to take each one, and I just want to know kind of like what made you start the podcast and what sparked the title of it, and then what is the main purpose behind the podcast. So I'm gonna let you talk about it.
So I started the podcast because over like the whole Corona thing and the quarantine, I was back at home, um, and going into the gym to work with Will Bradley for the most part when I'm home. Going into the gym to work with him, you see so many younger people trying to get to the college level, which Will is so good at getting people to do. But you start to see a little bit of yourself in high school when you're working out with younger kids, and you start to see how much they really don't understand what they're working towards. Like everybody wants to go play at the Division I level. Everybody does. But they don't understand what it takes when you get there. So that was what started the podcast, just wanting to get kids to understand what they're going to be getting when they get to that level. Whether it's Division I, Division II, Division III, JUCO, whatever it is, it's going to be tough either way. So just going to play college sports in general. And then the name, Only If I Knew, if only I knew, that was just literally like, it is what it is. Like, if only I knew before I got there, I would have so much, I wouldn't have like not suffered. I wouldn't have went through as much as I did if I knew, like when I got there. So the main purpose of it is that, and then I also throw mental health episodes in there just because that's such a big part of it. It's just your mental health. You, especially as men, and it's not just for guys out there, it's for females as well. But men's mental health is just so not important. And it's been getting better in a sense of people speaking on it and the world itself, but it's still not very important in the sports world, not even the sports world, just the social world of life. And then getting kids to understand that when they get there, they have to make decisions that they would have never had to make coming up. They have to realize things on their own that they would have never thought they had to realize. When you're in high school, you're getting the nicest part of coaches. You're getting what they do for, like, this is their job to go in and make you want to go to their school. But you can commit to that school, and then when you get there, they literally leave and go to another school. Like, it's just getting younger kids to understand that it's not everything that you think it is. Like I said, it's an amazing sport. Like, the love I have for the game of football is something I could never begin to explain just because of what it's done for me as a man now. And I tell people all the time, sports are almost a direct correlation to life, in my opinion, especially the game of football. If you can survive a year in Division I football, then you can make life work, because there are parts of the season in Division I football where they intentionally do things to weed out the weak. And there are going to be times in life where you're going through things where if you're weak, you'll crash out. You won't make it through. And so just getting them to understand that it's more than the game. But if you can get these things down, if you can simply, if you just listen to the things that are being said in the podcast, you'll really you'll understand and you'll be able to thrive. And I love doing it just because I know the people that do hear it and are listening, it'll benefit them in some way, shape, or form if they just listen to it, because it ain't nothing I ain't been through. So it's not like I'm just talking blind, but it's everything that I've been through. It's everything that people close to me have been through. And so it's from multiple perspectives, and it's only to benefit guys. It's only to benefit guys, it's only to benefit girls, it's only to benefit athletes, because it's super important. There's no such thing as bad information. I mean, unless it's just completely false, there's always information out there to be heard. There's always information out there to learn. And once you take the time to learn it, the knowledge is so much power. So just giving them the keys and the knowledge to understand what they're getting themselves into, and then try to help them best I can.
Yeah. Okay. So with the podcast, is there like a particular episode that's like your favorite that you feel like covers something important? If so, what is the title?
See, they're all something. There's something in every single one of them that I love.
Right.
But I think one of my favorites would be, it was one of my most recent episodes, and it was episode 20, and it was called What's Your Vision? And if you don't have a vision, if you don't have a layout of what you want to do, it's never gonna happen. Most people I know, they want to have a lot of money, they want to have all the things that come with living a good life, but they have no structure, they have no discipline, they have no vision of where they want to be. And a lot of the times people fall in love with the end goal, but don't fall in love with the process. So when you reach the end goal, if you reach the end goal, there's nothing more for you. You're like, I got what I wanted. Now there's like nothing. But once you fall in love with the process of getting to your goal, you fall in love with the process, and then you get to the goal and you're like, I want to keep working. Like, I fell in love with the process. I want that's what got me going. I got this now. I want more. Like, I want more and more and more and more, because you fell in love with the process of it, not just the end goal. So having a vision, having a layout is so important in my opinion. And then also knowing that there are going to be so many people around you that don't have that vision. There are going to be so many people around you who will not have that discipline. There are going to be so many people around you that want to see you fail. And then figuring out the people in your life who have your best interest at their heart, and then figuring out the people who do not, are extremely important, because you are who you hang with, you are who you spend time around. If you hang with 6 millionaires, you'll end up being the seventh, because habits will be made. There will be influences that come around. You'll be around people who understand what it takes, and then once you're around those people, you have no choice but to feed off of those things, because once somebody's a millionaire, once somebody's got this, you're not going to come into their circle and veer them off their path. You'll get cut off. You'll get sent away. Like, it doesn't work like that. But vice versa, you hang around people who want to drink all the time, want to do drugs all the time, want to do this and that all the time. When you start hanging around those people, you start developing those habits, and then you wonder why you're not in the best situation. You wonder why your mental health may not be the best. You wonder why a lot of things going for you aren't how good they could be because simply because of the people you're spending your time around. And so that's probably why it's one of my favorite episodes, because having a vision and then having the right people around you to help you with that vision. And that's not saying that other people are going to get you there because it's always going to be you. And but I always say you need people in your circle no matter what the situation is, because connections and relationships, and we're humans, we're built to love, we're built to care, we're built to create new friendships and all those things. So having people in your life is super important, but having the right people in your life is even more important, because having the relationships like that, you're built to pour yourself mentally, emotionally into other people that fill you back up with those same things. But if you're around people who you pour those things into and don't get filled back up, you'll end up in the worst situation, not them. So I always like to tell people you have to do what's best for you at all times. And having a vision will help you with that. Because if you don't have a vision, you don't have goals, if you don't have these things set out for you, you're vulnerable to fall for literally anything. You're vulnerable to go into any type of hole. You're vulnerable to be a part of whatever it may be that you don't have the intention of being a part of, just because you don't have a vision of where you want to be. So you're confused. And so that's probably definitely my favorite episode, just because it's it's one of the most important things you need moving forward as an athlete, is having a vision, knowing what you want to do and how you want to do it, and falling in love with the process of getting there, not just the end goal.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing is the process. I've been learning myself like that. The process is just so uncomfortable. And it's not meant to be. I think a lot of times with social media and everything nowadays, we feel like the process, our process needs to look like somebody else. If we mimic the same things that they're doing, then we'll get there. And that's not true. I think everybody has their own process for a reason. And a lot of the things that someone goes through, it may, yes, it's going to look different from others, but that's because that person probably couldn't handle the process that you're going through. Everybody's not built the same to handle the same situations. So I believe that one thing you're going through probably would have broke that person. So I think, like, yeah, understanding that the process is what the process is going to be, and you need to fall in love with it, because no matter what, you're always going to be going through a process. You may think that it's going to end, it's not going to end, because as soon as you reach that goal, there's going to be something else that you have to heal from, that or that you have to keep doing, that's going to continue the process. So I think that's good. We will drop Jaren's podcast link below in the bio. Yes. So with that, your next platform is your business, Ace Sports. So can you tell us about that?
So the Esports Academy is basically me continuing the love I have for younger generations. My dad, Eric Rainey, has been a big part of this. But it's an academy where we give after school programs, 15 to 20 weeks on character, academics, just getting them to understand how important those things are with football. So we're growing into other sports, football, soccer, baseball, things of that nature. But just it's a program that I say one program at a time, one kid at a time, getting it to as many schools as we can across the country, because there are so many younger kids out there who ultimately have no clue how important those things are. It's just they want to go play football, they want to do this and do that, and have no idea how important school and academics and you as a young kid growing up, how that impact has, what impact that has on you going to play football one day. Because there's been situations for me myself, I wanted to transfer to a school and I couldn't get into that school because my grades were low. But those weren't. I didn't have no program like that coming up. I had amazing parents who taught me things of that nature. But like I said, you get to college and it's a whole different world. It's a whole different environment. You're learning whole new lessons. So just trying to instill in younger kids, especially African Americans, but just younger kids in general. Like here out and where I'm at now, Hampton, the school system is not the best,
Mm.
and so there are a lot of situations where like kids just don't have no clue, just like little things, maybe reading or writing or things like that, and them seeing uh somebody who comes in and looks like them, somebody who comes in and can relate to them, the impact it has on their day, the impact it has on their life is something I have been able to feed off of because there's so many different situations that I'm beginning to live through that I never had to go through. I was extremely blessed with a house and a roof over my head, food on the table, supportive parents, things of that nature. When there are a lot of people in this world who do not have that, so being able to go into somebody's life and show them that there's somebody that cares about them, there's somebody that wants to see them grow, there's somebody that wants to help them understand what it takes moving forward to ultimately be the person that they want to be is very reachable. And it's been extremely rewarding to me just seeing them grow as kids, but that's what the business is. So it's been really a lot of fun.
That's good. Okay. So you did mention that like you did have struggles, by the same time like you did have support. So my next question for you is, was there ever a time that you fell out of love with the sport? And if so, what happened and how did that affect your mental health?
There was a time that I fell out of love with the sport, and that was probably earlier on in my college career, college lifetime. Um, it was just like I said, not necessarily having a vision, not necessarily having a plan, and then not taking care of things I need to take care of. So a lot of the times when there will be times that people will go through something and it's completely out of their control. It's completely nothing they can do about it. But there are also a lot of times people go through things that were self-inflicted. And the times that I did fall out of love with the game were because I was doing things off the field that I did to myself.
Mm.
So another thing with growing up is accepting your wrongs and learning from them.
Mm.
A lot of people at a young age, or a lot of people in life in general, love to just blame everything and everybody but themselves. And I think that was something that took me a while to do. But once you learn to do it,
Mhm.
you save so much energy, like figuring out what you did wrong and then going back and fixing it and growing and realizing that this is what it's going to take if this is what I want to do. So I think falling out of love, falling out of love with the game was something that ultimately benefited me in a way and moved me forward because I'm a firm believer that you can't win without a loss.
Yeah.
And I'm somebody that'll be scared of somebody who is just good all the time. Everything's going good for them all the time. They ain't had nothing wrong ever. Those type of people scare me because it's something that they got going on that they just ain't said. Because I'm a firm believer you got to go through something to be able to understand. You can't grow with nothing. You can't grow being perfect. There's nobody on this earth who's grown being perfect. You have to take those losses, but you have to learn how to take those losses. And when you learn how to take those losses, they're no longer losses. You're just gaining. You're gaining the whole time. And then once you get to a point where you're stable, you've been through what you needed to go through, that's when you really start to elevate. And that's what I've began to do and began to try to put on others, because there are a lot of people who continue to take those L's and continue to blame others. They continue to wake up and not do the things they need to do to help themselves grow. And I like to say all the time, is only the strong survive, because it's the truth. This life is hard, and nobody's situation is smaller than somebody else's. Everybody is going through something, and whatever somebody is going through, it's important, and it should be heard. It should be felt. It should be made to feel as big as it is to them. And
Validate.
then,
Yeah.
yeah, it should be validated 100%. And then it should be grown upon.
Yeah.
But some people on a daily basis go through things and they have no intention to get better, which to a certain extent is okay because it's hard and you're still learning. But at some point, you gotta stand 10 toes and figure out what is better for you as a person, because you'll get to a point in life where it's no longer you do what you want to, you do what you have to, and that's being an adult, that's growing up, that's learning life lessons, and that's becoming the person you're supposed to be at some point.
Yeah.
So, like I said, falling out of love with the game was probably something that was really, really good for me. Um, it was early on at East Carolina, but I, I'm I'm very thankful for that time. I'm thankful for my past, because it's definitely built me to where I am now.
Right. Okay. You've said a lot of good things, and I definitely appreciate you being here. But before we go, is there one thing that you would tell future athletes when they start to navigate the athletic world?
Um, do what makes you happy. Like, do what you want to do.
Yeah.
do not do not go play college football because your parents want you to. Do not go play college football because your buddies want you to. Not just football, whatever sport it may be. And then understand that you cannot be fully acceptant of one thing in life without being fully acceptant of the opposite of that. So you cannot go throughout life being the happiest you can possibly be. You cannot go throughout life being the most fulfilling you could possibly be if you're not accepting of the complete opposite. You cannot go through life being wanting to be fully accepting of love, being fully accepting of a relationship one day without being fully acceptant of the opposite, just being alone. You can't. And so if I could tell anybody coming up, any athletes out there, always do what fills you up mentally, physically, emotionally. And the things that don't, get rid of it, because it'll ultimately harm you. And there'll be things that you think are good for you and you think are there for you, and you'll get shown reasons as to why it's not. And then when you do, take it as it's given. Don't think that it's coming any other way than what it's being shown, because 9 times out of 10 it's not. And that can also help you realize more of your boundaries as a person and what you you can have in your circle in life and what you can't. So keep the people around you that are right for you, keep the relationships around you that are right for you, keep the habits around you that are right for you as a person, because there are different things for different people everywhere. But you as a person, do what makes you happy. If that's not sports, if it's chess, go play chess. If it's whatever it is, do whatever. Keep a smile on your face because life is already hard enough. Please don't make it harder for yourself. Like, please do not make it harder for yourself. It's already hard. Do the things that make you happy. Do the things that fill you up every day because there are going to be bad days. And on those bad days, you have to find a way to make it through because nobody in this world, nobody's going to feel sorry for you. Unfortunately, I'm not even unfortunately, nobody's going to feel sorry for you. It's your pain. It's your story. It's your path to be the great person you're meant to be. But you have to be willing to fight through those days and you have to be willing to get through those days because like I said, nobody you can't win without losing. So continue doing what makes you happy.
Yeah, very, very true. Well, Jaren, I definitely appreciate you being vulnerable with us today. We are going to drop this podcast link below, so you guys can listen to it. But yeah, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.